You blame Israel and you blame the U.S., but we haven't heard Hamas yet.
I actually have one of my since October 7th. Let them go in, let CNN go in and decide for themselves. How about that?
But
people don't believe them anymore.
All they have to do is release the hostages.
I just want to play. Hold on a second, Scott. I want to play.
President Trump wants this to end.
For mass expulsion.
Oh, the hotel.
Hamas is the one that's expelling.
Come on.
Come on what?
He's got his envoy over there right now.
That's the official Israeli.
Guys, we have a much more sensitive topic today, so let's get right into it.
I wonder if you feel like this moment, these images that are coming out about the humanitarian situation is, in fact, an inflection point.
Why did it take this long? I mean, in November of last year, the International Criminal Court issued a warrant for the arrest of Benjamin Netanyahu for the war crime of starvation 8 months ago, before Israel cut off all food, all water, all electricity into the Gaza Strip for 3 months. And to say the United States is silent, it's much, much worse than that. We are profoundly complicit and deeply responsible. It is our weapons that enforce this starvation. It is our diplomatic efforts that prevent international justice from being done. The blood is on our hands as Americans because it is our weapons that is responsible for those children starving to death.
No blood for the hands of Hamas?
Hamas has
Is there
lots
no
of...
blood
No,
on
no,
their
no.
hands?
Why don't you let me finish? How about that? Okay?
I'm just
Okay.
asking.
Yes,
You
of
blame
course.
Israel and you blame the U.S., but we haven't heard Hamas yet.
I actually have one of my closest friends in...
No one is saying Hamas has clean hands. I don't know why Scott's such a dick. There's plenty of blood on them, but acknowledging that doesn't give Israel a free pass to commit war crimes against civilians. You can condemn Hamas and still hold Israel accountable for its actions. Morality doesn't work like a scoreboard where one side's evil justifies the others.
Blown up by Hamas. I have probably a lot more experience with suffering from Hamas, with all due respect, than you do. Let's say this. If we want to see who is more to blame for the starvation of children in Gaza, Hamas or Israel, let CNN in. Israel has not allowed Western journalists in since October 7th. Let them go in, let CNN go in and decide for themselves. How about that?
How about Hamas
Can I-
releases
how
the
about-
hostages and
Yeah,
gets a
and let me
ceasefire?
think, what do you think would
Hold on,
happen if
Peter.
Hamas
Peter, just
released
give me
the
one
hostages?
second. Scott, let me ask you a question, because Hamas is responsible for October 7th. Hamas is responsible for a lot of terrible things. But the question is, who can alleviate the starvation at this moment in Gaza? And does Israel have a responsibility to do much more than it is doing right now? And what do you say to that?
Well, my view is Hamas started the war. The suffering of the people in Gaza is the direct responsibility of what Hamas has done. Hamas took money for years, and instead of doing anything for the people of Gaza, built tunnels
role in
for this
controlling
You asked me a question. I want to answer it.
But what about Israel's role in controlling the flow of food?
Yeah.
I just want us to set the table here, because I understand that there's a lot of political talking points around this, but this is a conversation about human beings and about the things that they need in order to survive, which is food and water. And the question I have for you is there a moment for you where you sit here and you think, yeah, maybe more can be done? And at what point should the United States government say that?
Well, we are saying that. Number one, Hamas has weaponized aid. They've stolen it from the United Nations to resell it to finance their war. Some people think they've made $1 billion stealing and weaponizing this aid. That's not the United States.
That is not true. That was under investigations from U.S. and another country, and there was zero proof of that. They showed nothing of that. That's completely false.
States doing. That's Hamas doing. That's number one. Number two, they've made unreasonable demands in these hostage negotiations. We're on the brink of a hostage deal and a ceasefire. They've blown that up today with Israel and now the United States having to walk away from an unreasonable situation. It is blatantly obvious that Israel and the United States wants the hostages home. They want a ceasefire, and they want to feed the people in Gaza. Hamas does not.
Can I chat? The Israeli government's stated position is to support the Trump plan for the full expulsion of all Palestinians from Gaza. And I would remind you, there is no Hamas leadership in the West Bank. How are Palestinians being treated in the West Bank, where Hamas is not in control, where there are no Hamas fighters? Palestinians are being expelled from their homes, living under conditions that even Israel's own human rights organizations call apartheid in the West Bank, where there is no Hamas. So yes, Hamas does despicable things, but these talking points, with all respect, people don't believe them anymore. People don't believe them anymore.
All they have to do is release the hostages.
I just want to play, hold on a second, Scott. I want to play Cindy McCain. She's the executive director of the World Food Program, and she talked about what is happening right now in terms of the actual administration of aid and what it could be. And she knows that because she's done it before. Watch.
When we had full access, we had 400 distribution sites. We were getting in 600 trucks a day. So the capability that we have is unmatched by any other organization or any other foundation. And we know where our food goes because we have a system on the ground that is tested and works. We need full sustained access. We need at scale so we can set up the kinds of aid stations that can actually help people and do it where it's not a panic situation.
Cindy's right. Let me just say from the outset, Hamas is responsible for what happened in Gaza. They don't negotiate in good faith. They are a terrorist organization. Having said that, Israel needs to be doing far more than they're doing to allow food to come in or to provide it themselves. And having spent much of the last 3 years in the Muslim world, you ought to see how the U.S. is being portrayed there for standing by and being silent, at least on this. Now, Hamas, they are a terrorist organization. I don't speak for them, but Israel needs to do more, and America needs to do more to force them to allow food in. It's heartbreaking to see what's going on. I served meals in southern Turkey after the earthquake with somebody from World Central Kitchen who later went to Gaza and was killed by a strike. Wow. They're serving meals there. It's a horrible situation. Anybody who can watch what we just watched and say, now Israel's doing enough, the U.S. is doing enough, we're not.
Yeah, I mean, she said 400 distribution sites is what they typically would have to feed a population of that size. We're talking about 4 now. And then at those sites, I can show you the headlines. I mean, dozens killed in separate incidents over the course of the last several weeks, just trying to get aid at those sites, creating incredibly dangerous conditions. It just seems, Abel, at this moment, it's not actually asking all that much for there to be more than what is happening right now, because what's happening right now is clearly not even close to being enough.
Abby, to look at the images, obviously it's painful, especially I'm a father. There's a lot of us here who are fathers.
This guy, this guy has all the wrong ideas.
See these kids. But then Hamas is just, they portray as a political party. They're a syndicate. They're a gang. They are a terrorist organization. I've been to Sderot. I've been to Ashdod, little cities right next to Gaza. I mean, these kids wake up in the morning, there's a kazam coming over their head. They're going into these culverts that they paint them as snails so these kids can play in culverts to protect themselves. This is bad. President Donald J. Trump wants a couple of things. Scott mentioned it. He wants a ceasefire. He wants this to end. This guy does not want war. President Trump wants this to end.
He's called for mass expulsion.
Hamas
He wants
is the
to build
one.
a hotel.
Hamas is the
Called for
one that's
expelling the entire population. Did you not hear that?
I mean, come on.
Come
Come on what?
He's got his envoy over there right now.
That's the official Israeli position to facilitate the Trump. Why are 3 of those 4 aid centers all in the extreme south of Gaza on the border of Egypt? Because Israel's own defense minister has said, we are implementing the Trump plan. Gazans can only live on 12% of Gaza now, which was already one of the most overcrowded places on earth, because Israel is facilitating the Trump plan, moving the population into a tiny area, making life so hellish and so miserable that they hope that as many people who don't die will leave. That's official Israeli policy.
Did you see Scott's reaction? Oh my God, he's so fucking rude. He is so rude, and I don't know how nobody, especially Abby, hasn't smacked him by now. I would have at least smacked him. I would have been like, oh my God, you're so fucking disrespectful, Scott. Who the heck do you think you're winning over like that? I mean, the people in Trump's base are just so heartless, and they're so proud to be heartless. I can't stand it. It's not right. But anyways, let me get to the main points. Trump doesn't genuinely want peace in Gaza, okay? Are you kidding me? He wants to look tough and back up the winners and keep his base happy. His worldview is deeply transactional. Israel is strong and aligned with US interests and seen as dominant, while Palestinians are often painted as terrorists. I mean, that's how he frames the conflict. It's not in terms of human rights or morality, but in terms of power. He's repeatedly called for Israel to finish the job, even as civilian deaths mount, and has never supported a ceasefire. He's never supported a ceasefire, or humanitarian access, or meaningful diplomacy. A big part of this is political. Trump's base includes Christian Zionists who believe in biblical prophecy tied to Israel, and far-right nationalists who view Muslim populations as dangerous. Supporting Israel wins him votes, it's just while supporting Palestinians gains him nothing. He also positions himself in opposition to Democrats. If Biden or Obama show empathy towards Gaza, Trump reflexively leans the other way. In short, he doesn't feel for Palestinians because their suffering doesn't benefit him politically, and peace doesn't serve his brand of power politics.
So true.
It's just, I don't know why it's so hard for other people to see that. I'm hoping that more and more people will realize that. Israel says Hamas has been stealing UN, flipping it on the black market, making up to $1 billion to fund their war. But here's the kicker. Independent investigations by the US and by UN found no solid proof. None. None of that. In fact, the US said a bunch of the aid went missing is actually destroyed by Israel's own military operations. And about the hostages and the ceasefire, the US and Israel were on board with a 60-day pause in fighting if Hamas released the hostages. But Hamas came back and said, nah, we want a full ceasefire, permanent. And you all gotta believe Gaza first, so the deal blew up. But, at the end of the day, both sides want very different things, and innocent people are caught up in the middle while politicians play high-stakes blame game. It's fucking crazy. And before anyone says Hamas doesn't care about feeding people, let's be honest, neither does Israel. If we're judging by the death toll and how little aid they actually let through, everyone's pointing fingers while the people of Gaza are starving. Anyways, I'm gonna leave it there. This is a very serious subject, and the people starving over there, it's just so crazy. This is the most insane war crime I've seen in my whole entire life. But please like and subscribe. I'm gonna come back with a new episode as soon as I can. Thank you guys. See you next episode.
They got your data, dumbass.
Do not come. Do not come.